Talk about what is state and how we can use the state within the component, how component leverages state, and then how it can interact with other components, passing the state as a props as needed. Okay, so in general, in layman terms, the state is like a mind. So if you compare component with a person, then state we can treat like a mind. So a person has mind, right? So what person does with mind? So a person can store the information in mind whenever a person needs information, and again person talks to his mind and get the information, right? And when person is gone, the mind is gone, right? So the same concept applies with the component as well. It is a self-contained entity like a person, and then component manages all the state, and then it can store the information in the state, it can retrieve the information, and when component is gone from the context, then the state is also gone. So component, the state is alive within the component as long as component is alive, right? So in the previous video we have looked into what component and the concept and how you can render the components, etc., right? So here in this video, let's see how we can inject a state into this component, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so let's import in the React functional concept. We use hooks, right? Let's use hook to demo the state. Before functional components, there were class methods as well, class components. As lately, like with the latest React versions, we are just focusing on functional components, and class components will be gone at some point in future, I think so. But let's use functional hooks here. Use state is the hook we use, and then from React let's import that. Okay, so use state, we represent that the return type of use state is, let's say we are dealing with a name and then set name. Okay, and then we call that use state function. Initially probably we can pass some new we can initialize the name with some value. Let's say a place can be called as like you can hear happy, right? The state of a person, like a person can be happy. So that is how the value is initialized to the state. The variable is called name variable, right? What this line says is we just injected state to a component. Previously it doesn't have any mind, so now it has mind, and then in that mind it has this information, name variable. Okay, so we can directly use that. So now component wants to use the state variable, so in this case mind, right? So as soon as you save that, see the component rendered, and then it displayed happy within the header. So what happens is first time it renders, if you are using the state variables, it just grabs that value. Okay, and what if you want to change the variable value? In this case I want to change the name to something else. Let's represent the example here. When I click on it, this needs to change, right? So we have on click here, we have empty function. In this, let's set name. So here use state returns the array. The first one represents the variable name, and then next one represents a function. This name can be anything, but this is the convention we follow, set name, so that when we look at it, oh, it's a function and it is setting the name. That means when we call this function with some different value, let's say more happy, right? Set name, what we are doing is this function, we are passing this value, and then that value will be set to name variable. It will change the value of the name. It happens under the hood. It is taken care by use state function behind the scenes. and the function returned from useState is set name. So that will take care of changing the name value. Let's test it out. When we click on it, ideally, like when you click on this, now what happens? On click, we are calling this function and we're calling this method, and we're saying that it's gonna change the name value. As soon as it changes the name value, because that name is within the state, anytime you modify the state, the page is going to re-render no matter what. No matter what, you are using this variable within the state, doesn't matter. Anytime if you update the state, it is going to re-render the page. That means whatever you are returning here, that will be re-rendered. So because it thinks that React thinks that there are changes within the component. Okay, so when you click on this, all this process happens, and then the value will be changed. See when I click on this, it changes the name. Oh, then React thinks, oh, the state changes, then let me re-render. It will re-render that. Okay, so that is the state. Just in a nutshell, 2 points. State is like a mind of the component, and then it can use that to store the information, grab the information. So now if you want to pass this state variable value as a props to other component, let's say instead of displaying name here, let's create a new component called name.jsx. Okay, and then we can say name function, and then it is going to return let's say div or just h2 or p paragraph, right? And then it's a let's say this function component is taking props, and then it is going to, let's say props has name in it. Okay, so let's assume that is the name component, and here instead of using this name directly, what we do, we're going to represent name function here, the function component that we just created, name. Let's import the name, and here let's export that, export name, and here we can say, we can export this way, as a destructuring way. So we can import name from name. So we imported the name here. Now as soon as we render this, it's going to render, and now it is not displaying anything because we're not passing any props to this component, right? That's why when we say .name, it is just undefined. Now let's pass name to it. What we can do, we can pass name equal to the name from the state, right? The state variable we're passing as a prop. As soon as you save it, it's going to re-render, and then the name value is sent to this name component, and that displays the name. See, more happy, because you see previously this component has the state which starts with happy, and then when we set the name, the state of the name is changed, right? So it has the latest value stored within the component state, and now we made changes to that component. We introduced a new component, and we're passing the name to it. What value is it passing? Whatever the latest value that was stored within the state, that's what it is passing, right? But if you refresh this, it's going to again start with the new value. Okay, because it's going to, when you refresh, what happens is component dies. This home component dies, and the whole state is gone. Let's see that. See, it started with a new value. Now again, if you click me, then it displays more happy. See, so that is the concept of state, and how we use state and how we pass that as a props to the child components. Okay, so in the next video, let's catch up on how we handle click events. And here we kind of handled that little bit, but let's dig a little bit more about how click events propagates towards the page. Okay, see you there. Bye.